Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge, and we are back to preview the Round 8 clash with the Adelaide Crows on their home deck at Adelaide Oval. And it is going to be a very fiery encounter. I think both teams are at different ends of the spectrum almost, which is funny to say because Adelaide started the season, in very good form, and where we started the season pitifully. And it's kind of a bit of a change in fortunes over the past 3 weeks. Obviously, Carlton have won the past 3 games, and Adelaide, they've been very topsy-turvy, only won 1 of their past 4 games. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, Adelaide have the home ground advantage, which is a big, big thing in Adelaide. I don't think we've beaten them there since 2010, I think, from memory. Correct me if I am wrong in the comments section down below, but yeah, it's a fair while between drinks, that's for sure. So, as I say, it's, with every time that we lose at Adelaide Oval, we're a step closer to potentially winning. And maybe this is the week. They are susceptible. They have a couple of players out, key players as well at that. So it works well, but kind of countered by the fact that we are missing or are going to be missing a couple of key players as well, which we'll get into right now. So let's flick across to the match day screen or match center screen. And let's scroll down a bit and check out the ins and outs for both teams. So Adelaide, coming into the side, they have Jordan Butts, Fogarty, Brodie Smith, and Sam Berry. But their outs arguably are more of note because we have Nick Murray, who's a pretty handy defender. Sid Draper, the youngster. Mitch Hinge, which is a massive, massive out. He is one of their better defenders. And I reckon, in my eyes, probably a little bit underrated. And Matt Crouch as well goes out of their engine room. The accumulator, probably not as impactful as what some other midfielders may be. But albeit having said that, he does get his hands on the pill. He does provide an option in the centre. So he is a bit of a sizable out for them because he is being replaced by Sam Berry within his own right. He does have some okay games. Brodie Smith as well, probably playing off half back there. Darcy Fogarty, a big in, just to complete the trio of, we can't call it the Twin Towers. It is the 3 towers virtually with Fogarty, Walker, and Thilthorpe. Sorry, name escaped me there for a second there. And Jordan Butts will be coming back to defence, you would think. For us, our ins are Lewis Young coming back into the side, Sam Doherty and Lockie Cowan earning his call-up after returning from injury and having a stint in the VFL last week. Big outs here, Jack Silvani, arguably our most consistent performer across the season to date, which is funny to say considering he's coming off an ACL and he is, I guess becoming acclimatised to playing in defence, a position that he hasn't really been accustomed to. So a big out there speaks for itself, but Zach Williams as well, does provide an option upfield. Talking in terms of his role as that sort of small to mid-sized forward. And we saw, against North Melbourne, especially when he was at the top of his game, he was very, very impactful, just reads the play, crumbs so perfectly, and plays that role to a T. Albeit, we do have, thankfully, quite a few small forwards in our team. We've got Fogarty, we've got good old Walter, a.k.a. Will White. We've got Motlop, we've got Durd. So we're well stocked in that area, thankfully. So we can potentially cover him in that respect there. And then we have Matt Cottrell going out as well through injury, who I think is kind of, I was suspect of his form in the early rounds. He came back, and against West Coast especially, he was really the one player who was flying the flag with his really precise kicking inside 50, hitting up targets, all that sort of stuff, and has sort of recaptured some nice form. So it is disappointing to see him go out of the team. Let's have a quick look at how the teams will line up. Of course, this will change, no doubt. We can't really pay too much close attention to the positioning and everything else because it isn't set, as we know. But I think in terms of, where we can kind of have a little bit of an arm wrestle with the Crows and get on top of them is in the engine room. And we saw that over the past few weeks against the Cats, especially North Melbourne, West Coast, who, albeit they were undermanned and, they are arguably the most struggling team in the competition at the moment. So, we've got a Cripper. We've got Elijah, who really played an incredible game on the weekend against the Cats. Played that high half forward, but also drifted back to defence and roaming the wings as well, and played an incredible game. 25 disposals thereabouts, kicked a goal or two, and really, really impactful. So great to see from him in his return to the senior team. And then we've got, of course, Ches Hewitt, who is I think far and away our best player, best performer across the season, both offensively and defensively. And in the ruck, I think we can really, really take advantage of Riley O'Brien. I think he's kind of at that age now where the around the groundwork, I think, for ruckman is understated. And the fact that TDK just absolutely loves aerobically getting around the ground, taking marks, and providing a link option, he will run Riley O'Brien ragged. And I do expect TDK to really have a performance similar to what Cherry did against Goldstein in last night's game between the Dons and North Melbourne. So that is an interesting watch there, but he will give us first, I guess, taste of the footy at stoppages, in the middle, everything else. So that I'll look forward to. And a little bit of an advantage, I think, there. Now, Isaac Rankin, I think, is probably the one danger player for them in the middle. Jordan Dawson, I think his disposal is very, very suspect. Have a look at his disposal efficiency in recent games. Has been down, and I think that really does hurt him as a player. He can get his hands on the footy, but just doesn't do enough with it. Isaac Cummings been a really nice recruit for them. And Jake Saligo as well. He started the season. He's kind of had that turning point in his career, but in recent weeks has really fallen away a bit. But Isaac Rankin is that player that can really hurt us, both obviously up forward, given traditionally he has been sort of playing that small to mid-sized forward across his career to date before moving into the midfield full-time this season, but can really damage us. Incredible foot skills, incredible smarts, so we need to shut him down. Outside of that, I think, defensively we can really stretch them. Talking about with our forwards, with the likes of Charlie, Harry, it does hurt with, I guess having to restructure things, because with Sauce out of the team, I'm expecting Lewis Young to go back into defence and take that spot. Albeit having said that, we've already got Carroll, we've got Weeders, we've got Gov, and we've got Nick Haynes. So we've got virtually 4 talls there in defence that can really fly the flag. So maybe we won't be switching things up. I don't know, but I don't think Matt Carroll can really be expected to play a key position role. And I think it was a really nice thing to see on the weekend against the Cats, where Sauce was playing a really nice lockdown role, and it allowed the likes of Haynes to drift across and play that intercept game that he played so well on the day. So I don't know if they're going to swing Lewis Young back, but we've seen Lewis Young really play a role up forward, and against North Melbourne especially, I think he only kicked 1 goal, but it was really the 1%ers that he was being really impactful with. The second and third efforts that really impressed me as well. So I'm glad to see he's got a reprieve off the back of injury. So it's a bit of a positive out of a negative, but I don't know if he's going to be of benefit going back to defence, because that's kind of where he's struggled a fair bit. But we're going to need all the help that we can get against the likes of Thilthorpe, Fogarty and Walker. Those 3 players, as we saw at the start of the season, when they're at the top of their game, they can really, really hurt teams. So, Walker normally spends a majority of his time, within the 50-metre arc, whereas I think Fogarty kind of pushes up to the wing at various stages. Thilthorpe as well kind of interchanges with him, but plays higher up the ground as well. So it's almost like a 3-tier system they've got there, which allows Walker that time and space and those leading patterns and lanes, virtually, if you want to call them that, to really lead into and take some overhead grabs. So we need to stop that, and that's why I think the loss of Sauce is going to hurt us the most and expose us in that area. But it's going to be interesting to see how we can manage that. Lewis Young, if you can go back, if you can play a role, and maybe allow Haynes to play more of the intercept role, that would be great. But Haynes might need to play a lockdown role traditionally in order to get on top of those 3 talls that the Crows do possess. Let's jump across now ever so quickly to my favourite website. It is Willow Ratings, of course, where we go through, we deep dive the stats and analyse things a little bit further. So I always like looking at the scoring sources from teams and which parts of the ground they give up scores to, and at what method they give up scores. So is it via stoppage, is it via kick in, or is it via turnovers? And I spoke about it last week when I was previewing the Geelong game, and they were exposed in recent games with their turnover game, and that's a part of the game that we actually got on top of the Cats with, and it was through the pressure. Those pressure acts, through tackling, that forced those turnovers, and we're able to expose that chink in their armour. So let's go through the stats here and see if we can expose another chink in the Crows' armour here. So looking at the Crows here, as you can see there, they're 3, 6 down the line there. And we're just going to have a look at this column here that I'm highlighting at the top there. You'll see score sources, kick-ins, stoppages, and turnovers. And it highlights what areas or what methods they're able to give up scores to opposition teams. So they give up the most in terms of turnovers. So if we were to, I guess, filter it via turnovers, we actually, believe it or not, give up the second least via turnovers, which is really surprising because our disposal efficiency and everything else was very, very poor in the early rounds of the season. And that was kind of an area of the ground that we were exposed. But we have turned it around in the past 3 weeks, especially, and it's put that back in our favor. So the Crows, they are around about, what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're the, ninth, should say, because that's the that line there is the AFL average. So they're just sort of around about the AFL average. AFL average is 47.6 via turnovers conceded, and Adelaide are 47.3. We, by comparison, are 37.4. So that already is a good sign for us. Let's have a look at stoppages, and the Crows give up, 3, 6, 7, the 7th least amount of score sources via stoppages, whilst we give up the 3rd least. So again, in our favour there. And let's have a look at kick-ins. And there's not many goals that are considered via kick-ins across the board because it's very hard to go from end to end in modern day footy, but it does happen. And the Crows give up the 2nd least to opposition teams, whereas we give up the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th most via that method of kick-in going end to end. So we really need to be clamping down on that. We have, I think, clamped down on it in recent games and haven't been as bad. But I have noticed that there are times there where we're kind of a little bit leaky. When teams get a run on and they move the ball very, very quickly, we are exposed. So those are areas of the ground that the Crows give up and that we give up by comparison. So looking at that, I think we can get on top of them via stoppages and can get on top of them via turnovers and use those 2 avenues to really get our goal sources from. The score origins, that's a similar sort of thing, but, where are the plays built that then lead on to scores. So we, that's defensive averages, opposition averages, I should say here. So we give up the 4th least. The Crows give up the 2nd least in scores via the defensive half. Forward half, we rank round about just above the season average, whilst the Crows rank 3 or 4 down from the season average. Centre bounce, we give up the 2nd least scores via centre bounces, which is just, I guess, highlights our dominance in the engine room, whereas the Crows give up the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 most via centre bounce. So again, this highlights an area of the ground that we can really capitalise in getting our scores from. So centre bounces and turnover. Combine both of those and put the pressure on at stoppages and the centre bounces, everything else, and we can really capitalise on getting goals via those avenues and that method as well on top of that. Let's have a look at team averages ever so quickly. Similar sort of thing, but this is kind of where the teams themselves get the scores from. So via kick-in, the Crows are just above the season average at 4.6. We're just below the season average at 4.1. Stoppages, we are 2 above the season average, whereas the Crows, they're all the way down here, kind of 3, 6, 7th least amount of score sources via stoppages. And the turnovers, so the Crows, they actually score the most, should say, via turnovers. So they pride themselves on their pressure, their tackling, everything else to force turnovers to then get goals from that. If we can really brush up our game and be efficient, don't bite off more than we can chew and cause turnovers, because if we can do that, we can really stifle their ability to go forward and kick goals if they're relying upon opposition turnovers in order to score those goals. So that's something that we really need to focus on. Whereas with us, we're just below the season average of 46.7, thereabouts. We're not, above and beyond. But I think if we were to sort of look at the smaller sample size over the last 3 weeks, I would argue that our score sources via turnover are probably in the top three. Let's see if we can have a look at the last 5 games. And yeah, you can see here, the last 5 games, we're actually ranked 4th in terms of most scores via turnover, 53.4. The Crows are 55.6. So this is probably more of an accurate reflection compared to the all-over season average, because that obviously includes our opening rounds of the season, where you could probably argue the team that you're seeing now, the Carlton team you're seeing now, is chalk and cheese with what we've seen from the opening rounds of the season, where we have been struggling. So maybe let's have a quick look here at the smaller sample size, last 5 games. So score sources, as you can see there, as I said, stoppages, we have the 5th most scores via stoppages. The Crows, meanwhile, are actually second last. So again, this just highlights once more the emphasis we need to put on the dominance in the engine room, because that's a massive discrepancy. 38.6 to the Crows 26.4. Kick-ins, much for muchness, small, figures across the board. We get 3, 6, 7. We're the 7th most. I guess team that benefits from scores via kick-ins, and the Crows, they rank 5th last actually. So let's have a quick look at score origins as well via opposition averages. Score sources via the opposition that are conceded. So the Crows, they concede the 4th least to kick-ins. Stoppages, we concede the 4th least to opposition teams via stoppages. The Crows, meanwhile, they are 3 more ahead of us, so they concede a little bit more. Turnovers, and we spoke about that already. So scores via turnovers, we are actually very, very stingy. We only give up the 2nd least amount of scores via turnovers. So again, this kind of opposes what the Crows rely upon. They're been really strong in getting scores via turnover, whilst we've been very, very stingy in not allowing opposition teams to score via turnover. So this should work in our favour, and I think this will give us a tactical advantage again if we are efficient with the movement of the football. And if we go to the Crows, they're the 6th. They give up the 6th most scores via turnover. So that's a good sort of indication there, a little bit of a snapshot in why I think that we go into this game with a bit of a tactical advantage, I think, from what we've seen in recent weeks. And sure enough, if we can, I guess, continue this consistent run, this consistent form that we've seen in recent weeks, I have no doubt we can beat the Crows. I said it against, heading into the Cats game, off the back of what I saw against North Melbourne. If we sustain what we played, what we showed against North Melbourne, what we showed against the Cats, and we apply that against the Crows, we will beat them again. As I said in that video there, we will beat most teams on their day if we can continue that sustained effort for 4 quarters, and when we are challenged, we bounce back. We did it against the Cats. They kicked the first 2 goals in the 3rd quarter. We bounced back. They kicked the first 2 goals of the last quarter, and we bounced back. So all that to say, I think I'm expecting us to win. I'm expecting us to win, provided, knock on wood, that we don't have a lapse in concentration and we don't go into our shells and we don't get worried about the fact that we're playing on, an opposition's oval, different dimensions, everything else, and don't look into the historical head-to-head at Adelaide Oval. I know we haven't beaten them there since 2010, but records are made to be broken. You know what I mean? So that is what I'm expecting. I expect us to come out firing. There is no guarantee as well that Phil Thorpe actually plays. I think he busted his finger, but they are confident that he is going to play. Wouldn't surprise me if he is out, which probably wouldn't be the end of the world for them. They got Fogarty back. If they were relying upon Tex Walker and Fogarty didn't come back, that would be in a world of hurt. So just keep a watch on that. But I do think we should have them covered up forward, because they are missing a couple of key players in their defence. So I think we can really stretch them there with Charles, Harry, and our small forwards that have been in really good form. And the battle, I think, is going to be really how we can contain their 3 tall forwards. If you can do that, I think we have the advantage in the middle. As I said, we can really capitalise on the fact that they are relying upon scores through opposition turnovers. If we can stay clean with the footy and disposals, efficiencies, everything else, we can stifle their game, and we can get on top of the fact that they haven't been able to contain scores in their engine room all that well. So I am not extremely confident, but quietly confident, I think, that we can come away with a win here. 3 wins on the trot. It's incredible what a bit of good form, a bit of good fortune, and everything else does to a player's and team's confidence, because it has absolutely lifted. It's gone through the roof, as I say, and I am absolutely looking forward to this game and licking my lips for what should be a very, very good encounter. Let's go, Baggers. Let's get it done. Let us know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Always keen to hear what your thoughts and expectations are. And with that, we will catch you in the review episode. Let's do it, Baggers, and get another win. 4 wins on the trot. That would be absolutely incredible. Go, Baggers.
Have you ever heard the MCG like that? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?